Global War 36 enthusiast here with a video about understanding convoy rating. Let's just review a few different units here. This is a German battlecruiser. This is a coastal submarine. This is a normal submarine. And this yellow guy is an advanced submarine. Okay, the first concept when you're doing convoy rating is that you can only convoy raid an open convoy line. So convoy lines are these white dashed lines here. Here's the Europe-America line, and it has a little blue box that tells you how many IPP could be rated in a particular calendar term. So you could take 5 IPP off the Europe-America line here because it says 5 here, but that line would need to be open. There's two ends to a convoy line. It can either originate in a sea zone like this one here. It has that little U there. That's the Soviet Arctic line, the start of that. It can start in a sea zone, or it can start on a land zone like the Europe-America line starts there in southern England. The only way you can close a convoy line is by have an enemy possess a land zone where a convoy line starts. Like if Germany captured southern England, then that would close the Europe-America line. Remember that the attacking player gets to choose the order of their attack. So if Germany did decide that they were going to attack southern England, but they also had a submarine out there, they might want to have the convoy raiding occur while the line's still open before you capture that territory and do the attack on southern England. Let's just look at how convoy raiding works if you have an open line. Let's just look at the most common thing, which would be a normal submarine convoy raiding a convoy line. You roll 2d6. One is for the attacking player, 1d6 is for the defending player, and nomenclature is typically that red is the attacker and either white or black is the defender. Or you can get specialty dice from HBG. They have nation-specific D6s, so you could get a D6 for Germany, a D6 for Britain, and roll those individually. I'm just going to use the red and white nomenclature. Regular submarines get a +2 to their convoy rating roll. So let's say there's no tech developed, it's just a normal plain vanilla attack with a normal sub. You'd roll 2d6, and you'd add 2 to the attacking player's die, so this would be a 5, and you subtract the defending convoy roll, so this would be 2 points of damage, and you'd put that right on the convoy line to keep track of it, because you need to keep track of how many points of damage this convoy line sustained in a calendar turn. After America's turn, you take these damage dice off, or damage trackers off. I made a slight mistake here, because this was where the attack occurred. When there's 2 convoy lines in a sea zone, the defending player gets to assign where the damage was applied. So in A21 here, there's the Atlantic line going down, and then there's the Europe-America line. So if 2 points of damage were done here, then the British player could decide which line they want to assign it to. Again, this becomes important when the attacking player gets to determine the order of the attacks. You might want to choose a particular convoy line to raid first, knowing that the defending player can choose which line to assign it to. Let's look at if a coastal sub were raiding. Well, coastal subs only get to add 1. Instead, they're basically like half the convoy rating potential of a normal sub. So if there were no technology, you'd roll a red die for the attacker, and you'd add 1 to the attacking die roll, so that'd be a 2, but there'd be no damage done in this scenario. Let's talk about raiding battlecruisers. Note that battlecruisers can be designated as raiders. I'm going to do a separate video on battlecruisers. But even if a battlecruiser hasn't been designated as a raider, it can still do convoy raiding. Let's look at this. Battlecruisers would get a +1, just like coastal submarines. But let's look at what happens if we're doing convoy raiding in a sea zone where the defender has placed a unit on escort duty. So what happens there is for each surface warship that has been placed on escort duty, the defender gets to add 1. remember the battlecruiser gets to add 1. So if there's no other technology, then we just roll 2d6. The battlecruiser adds 1 to this, so it's a 5. The escort duty destroyer adds 1 to this, so it's a 7. So no damage is done. But whenever there's a ship that's on escort duty, you roll another d12 and at whatever combat power this escort duty unit has. So if there's a destroyer, it gets to roll 1d12 at a 4. It rolled a 5, so it didn't hit. But if this had been a light cruiser that was on escort duty, then that would have hit. So it's frequently players will choose not to raid on a sea zone if there's a unit on escort duty. Let's talk about convoy raiding aircraft. There are 3 types of convoy raiding aircraft. You can do convoy raiding with a seaplane, a tactical bomber, or with a medium bomber. Let's say that this seaplane you have to be on map to do convoy raiding. It has a map range of 2. Let's say it flies out to this sea zone right here, okay? Well, when map are doing convoy raiding, they get to add a +1. So if there were no technology, we roll a die, we'd get 6, because the 5 + 1 for the aircraft on map, -2, so that would be 4 points of damage that we're done. In this case, if the Soviet Arctic line were open, then we could apply, say, 5 points of damage to the British. We've done 4 more, and then 1 point to the Soviets. That's a possibility in that scenario. Remember that the aircraft that's doing convoy raiding needs to be on map. Okay. Now let's talk about a situation where the defender has aircraft on map. So if this coastal submarine were raiding Sea Zone A21 and the Americans have a tactical bomber on map, whenever you have a defending aircraft that's on a carrier, it always counts as being on map. So in that situation, instead of the +1 that you get if you convoy raid with a map aircraft, you get to add 1. When it's a defending aircraft on map, you get to add 2. So the coastal submarine only gets to add 1. The map TAC gets to add 2. So this is a 2, and that's a 5. So no damage is done there. Let's talk about technology. So one thing that the British player might do is develop Anti-Submarine Warfare, ASW. If the British player has developed ASW, then their defense roll, they get a +1. So if this submarine were raiding against ASW, then the red die gets a +2 for the sub, 8, but the white die gets a +1, 4, so that'd be 4 points of damage that was applied here. But kind of like when we had the escort duty destroyer, what happens in this situation is with advanced ASW, you get an automatic D12, but it's at a 1 or a 2. So you can kind of think about it like there's a torpedo boat destroyer that's in the line automatically defending the line. If you have a situation where there's 2 submarines attacking and you have advanced ASW, you only get the 1 shot. You don't get 1 per sub that's attacking that particular sea zone. Every sea zone that you convoy raid in would get 1 roll, but only 1 roll per sea zone. Now let's imagine that the Germans develop advanced submarines. That lets you build these guys. So advanced submarines have a couple advantages. Remember that you can only find submarines with an aircraft on map. So if the American player, it's their turn and they're trying to attack, this tactical bomber could not attack over here because that's 2 spaces away. It's on map in the sea zone that it's in, or it could fly 1 space and find this sub. When you're attacking normal subs, the plane comes on map, plus it could pair with 1 destroyer to come over and attack that sub. But it couldn't go all the way over here. But let's say that this aircraft was located here, and it could fly 1 space. The aircraft carrier was located here, and it flies 1 space over. When you're attacking advanced submarines, you can't pair with a destroyer. You can only attack with the aircraft on map. So that's one advantage that advanced submarines have. But another advantage is a special ability called Wolfpack. What Wolfpack is anytime that you have two submarines raiding in the same sea zone, they each get to add +1 to their attack roll. So in this particular case, let's start off with the advanced submarine. Advanced submarines get to add 4. So coastals, map aircraft, battlecruisers get to add 1, regular submarines 2, but advanced submarines get to add 4. Let's say in this example, the British have ASW, they get to add 1, but also because of it being a Wolfpack there, it gets to add another one. This guy gets to add 5. So 5 to the red die, 1 to the white die. So this would be 10 minus 7. This would be 3 points of damage for that first submarine. And then we would attack with the normal submarine. That gets to add 2, plus 1 for the Wolfpack, so that's 3. And then the 1 for ASW for the Brits. So this would be a 9 minus 3, or minus 4. That would be 5 points more of damage. And that we'd cap that, we'd max that line out in such a scenario. So advanced submarines are one of those technologies like long-range aircraft that give you an automatic bonus even to units that are already on the board. You can do Wolfpack with coastal subs and normal subs. You don't have to be advanced subs, but you can't get Wolfpack from battlecruisers or aircraft that's on map. Speaking of that as well, when we were talking about the ASW roll where you get to roll a D12, because in this analogy we had these guys attacking in a Wolfpack, so we'd get one roll at a D12 to see what happens. Nothing happens. But if this battlecruiser is raiding in this sea zone, the sea zone defender does get the +1 for their convoy roll for having developed advanced anti-submarine warfare. I said advanced, but I mean just ASW. But they don't get this roll to try to kill something. They don't get that roll against a battlecruiser. This extra kind of torpedo boat destroyer, automatic torpedo boat destroyer to think about, that's only against submarines, okay? So the final technology is that Britain might develop radar. Let's say that Britain has developed radar, we'll be in this zone right here, and ASW. Then the convoy defender gets to add a +3. So the raiding player gets a +2 for a normal sub. The defender gets a +3, so this would be 8 minus 5. It'd be 3 points of damage there. And since there is ASW in this situation, then you get an automatic D12. So hopefully that makes sense about convoy raiding, and I know that I keep promising I'm going to do a video on battlecruisers. That will be coming up.